Hi crafty friends, today I'll be sharing with you a light up card that I made using Mama Elephant products from the January 2025 release. I've made light up cards before, but this was the first time that I made a light up card using three lights, and I ran into some problems. So here you can see this was my original one. The second light does not light up because of a poor connection. So I had to start over again, but that's okay, it's just paper. And the first thing I did was I lined up my gift card holder and traced the candles so I could figure out where to place my lights. Once the placement of the lights were set, I used a hammer hole punch to create the holes in my card to let the light come through. You can also use a regular hole punch, but my small hole punch was not long enough for some of these holes, so I couldn't reach it, so my hammer hole punch came in handy. The next thing I did was I just drew a little line at the top of my gift card holder so I knew where the final placement was going to be. Next, I centered the background panel onto a card base and traced the holes for the lights and also transferred the marking of the top of my gift card holder. This way I would know where to set up my circuit. I took a ruler and drew a line to show the top of my gift card holder so I can know where to place the battery for the circuit. I also set up where the switch was going to be. So you can see here I'm taking the 0 and just marking the center of the 0 so I can trace the battery for the switch. The battery that I'm using is a CR2032 lithium battery, and I like this because not only can I use these batteries for my light up cards, but it's also the battery that's used in my car key fob. To set up the circuit, I'm using copper conductive tape and LED lights from this LED light strip. I don't have the more expensive name brand Crafter LED lights that a lot of people like to use, but this is a really budget-friendly way to create light-up cards. The first thing I'm going to do is to set up the switch for this card. So what I do is I take a strip of cardstock and I just kind of eyeball this to the size and thickness of my battery. I basically am creating a hinged piece for the battery to sit in, and when the top part of the switch it presses against the battery, that is what it's going to make it light up. I center it over the spot for the battery that I already drew in from before. I'm going to take a little piece of washi tape and hold it in place. What I want to do here is I'm creating a little slot in this setup so that I can easily remove the battery. That way, the battery won't stay inside the card, and if it accidentally gets pressed, it might drain the battery. But also this allows a way that you can um, get a new battery if the old one runs out. Once I've die cut a little slot, I glue it in place. Then I take the conductive tape, and because it's adhesive, it has adhesive on the back, I start to lay out my circuit. So I start with placing the end of the tape on the bottom part of my switch. And you can see here, I'm just running it along the spots where I drew the lights. Now, something I learned from my first go at this card was the spot where you have your lights, you want to make sure that the conductive tape is just one layer in that spot. You don't want it to be at the folded part. If you can see, there's some parts I had to fold the tape back. You don't want it on the folded parts because it actually messes up the contact with your light. I hope that makes sense. Otherwise, if it's uneven, it will create a bad connection. So you can see here I actually use my bone folder to smooth out all of the bumps and creases of the circuit. The conductive tape at the top of the switch is what is going to press against the battery and close the circuit and make the lights light up. Now I'm placing the LED lights and making sure I have it going in the correct direction, like the positive and negative side. And so you can just see I was spinning around the lights and testing them by pushing the switch while holding the lights in place. Once I have the proper placement and making sure everything is lighting up, I just grab a piece of regular Scotch tape and I tape the lights in place. I am pressing the lights to have a very secure contact with the copper tape. And as I tape them down, I use my bone folder to smooth everything out. During this taping process, you want to keep checking and testing the lights to see that they light up still. Something I learned from my trial, the first card I made. I wouldn't call it a mistake. I would just say it was the practice run for this card in this video. One thing I want to mention about laying the circuit down is you have to check that the gap between the positive and negative side of your circuit is small enough for the contacts of the light to touch. And you can't have the positive and negative side of the tape touch each other. Now I'm just testing the spot where you press the switch is going to actually light up and that the lights are coming through the little holes that I placed earlier in the background panel. I'm adding a piece of thick vellum to the backside of the holes just because I feel like it softens the light a little bit. I'm not sure if it really does, but I just did it to make myself feel better. I also colored in the spots where the holes were with an orange Copic marker. Again, just to make myself feel better, thinking it's going to soften the light because the lights I had purchased were a bright white, um, not realizing how bright they really were. So I feel like the vellum softens it, maybe. Next, I'm going to start putting foam tape on my card base so we can pop up the background panel. I added some thin foam squares to just the spot around the switch because it gives it that area a little bit of height so that there's some space in between the switch and the battery. This way the switch is not closed constantly, if that makes any sense. You want a little bit of gap so that the lights are not on all the time. And then it's only when you press that one spot down, then that's when you're going to close your circuit and make the lights light up. So I put the foam tape around the rest of the places. I keep checking to make sure everything is working, and then I'm going to peel off my paper and stick my panel on. Good news is it's working this time, so I can now finally put everything together. I'm placing my 0 in the spot where the switch is, and I just glue it on. And I test it a lot of times because it is fun to make it light up. After lining everything up, I am going to glue the gift card holder down with some removable glue dots. I was thinking that if it was a removable glue dot, then it would be easy for the recipient to peel off the gift card holder. They can reuse it for someone else. And this card is a gift that keeps on giving. Once everything is glued in place, I erase the little pencil marks I had drawn on the side to show the placement of my gift card holder, and I just glue down the last number, the 5. The last thing I have to do is glue on the little banner that will serve as a flap for the gift card holder to tuck into. So I got a sentiment from Dragon Wishes, which was perfect. It says, "It's your birthday, light up the candles." And I put a little bit of foam tape on the bottom of the banner to kind of hold it up and allow space for the gift card to tuck into. Here I'm just testing it out. I put the battery in, and what I'm going to do is use some washi tape to hold the battery in place. And my card is done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you are inspired to make your own light up card. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and happy crafting!